Greetings, everyone. Tekking here, and welcome back to part 2 in my reading of Luffy x Nami, a fan fiction. You know, if you sat through part 1, you know what this is all about. So you're the one that sat there and was like, I want more of this, and I will give you more of this, especially since I'm not going to drop spoilers or anything for the next chapter of One Piece, but it's going to be pretty intense, and I'm doing the review tomorrow, and then after that there's going to be a bunch of videos to follow, so I figured I should probably get this out of the way first, to kind of give the masses what they wanted here. Yeah, to give you a quick recap on where we left off, Nami, it was a stormy night aboard the Thousand Sunny, and Nami had a nightmare, and she wandered into Luffy's room, and some foreplay was had, and it took a little while for Nami to get into Luffy's head about, you know, what exactly is going on here, but Luffy eventually caught on, and we started really getting into the good stuff. I think it was the, he was sucking on Nami's, yeah, right before we left off, so this is where we're going to get into the real, well, some people would call it I would refer to it as high art, but that's just a potato sort of thing. Once again, the fanfic is Stormy Feelings by Moulin Rouge 32, so there's a link to that over on fanfiction.net if you want to check it out, but yeah, we all know what this is going to be at this point, if you stuck by me so far, so let's get into it. Although, I feel like, nah, I think we're going full lemon into this. We're going into we need to get some real mood lighting up in here. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, this is good. This works. This is like a shady 1970s strip club in downtown New York City. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off with the paragraph that we ended on last time, just to figure out where we're at, to kind of give you context. You know, I believe Luffy had Nami pinned down to the bed in this position and was just kind of, you know, going at it like that. So just use me as a springboard to just kind of project that image. Okay. Seeing how he couldn't use his hand, he started exploring in them with his mouth. Nami began to moan, and he wondered what he was doing to make her do that. Flattening his tongue, he administered one hard, drawn-out lick to one of the pink buds. Nami moaned hard. It felt so wrong, yet so damn good. She was quickly becoming a shivering mass of gelatinous pudding. That sounds funny to me. Is there pudding that is not gelatinous? Under his ministrations, he continued heeding her moans and repeating things that made her moan loudly. So Luffy, at this point, he's figuring out what, like, pushes her buttons and stuff, but this is a whole new world to live in for him, you know? It's like, it's a whole new world, Pokemon Johto and all that stuff. So it's basically just like, did that elicit a response? Okay, well, I'll just keep spamming the A button for that. It's like whenever I play a fighting game, you know, it's just like, hey, Matt, here's Mortal Kombat 10. All right, I've never played that before. Oh, okay, up and B does this uppercut thing. All right, up B, up B, up B. That's all I do. And this is probably gonna, whenever I do have sex, if I ever have sex, if I ever come across a parallel dimensional portal sort of thing where I've had sex and I can watch myself have sex, this is basically the way that it would go. Alright. He took the left one into his mouth and gently bit down. I'm getting a little bit violent here, Luffy. Luffy! He was thrown into the air for a moment as she bucked her hips, managing to lift him when he'd bitten her. You're stronger than you think, he whispered in her ear. You know what? You're right. I love that. That's a great response. What is this, like Goku when he was sending Gohan to fight Cell? It's like, Gohan, you're stronger than you think you are. So Luffy bites down on Nami's, you know, her bud, and, you know, Nami's immediately responds is, ah, Luffy! And Luffy's just like, Nami, come on. You're stronger than you think you are. And she immediately is like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. I feel like you are. He looked at her and noticed she was smirking. What is she planning? Suddenly, she yanked her arms down to her sides, taking advantage of his distraction. Losing his balance, he fell flat on top of her. Okay. So, airbags, basically. Okay. As if that weren't enough, her exposed breasts were now pressing against his bare chest. Oh, his chest. Okay. So it's not like, okay, it's here instead. Okay. As long as I'm picturing it in my mind, it's all good. It's all copacetic. She began to rub her knee up and down his inner thigh. I didn't know that was a thing people do, but all right. I have to start taking notes on this. I really do. Knee on inner thigh. Got it. All right. Oh, God, she groaned. I have to do that again. Oh, God, she groaned. His eyes automatically closing. He had touched himself before, but never had it felt this frigging good, and she wasn't even touching it yet. I'm starting to think they're not going to use... I was worried there was going to be a lot of, you know, perverted terminology in this, but so far we're using bud and member and it, so I think we'll be safe. Nami continued to rub up and down and up and down, and she had found his weakness at last. He may have seemed all dominating a few seconds ago, but in reality, it's the woman who has all the power in the bedroom. Woman, power, bedroom. Got it. Men can act all high and mighty when they want, but when it comes down to having it touched, they become beggars. Luffy was in her control now. Luffy is kind of always in Nami's control in a little bit, because Nami was always the one that has, like, the very comedic, like, you're an idiot, Luffy, and punches him in the head. And he's like, sorry, Nami. You know, like, let's just be straight up. Like, if Nami wasn't around, or if Nami did not object to a lot of the stuff Luffy wanted to do, like, their ship would have sank a long time ago. You know, whenever Luffy's goofing off on, like, the sail of the ship or on the mast or something, and it's like, hey, let's go over there. I'm like, no, Luffy, that's a massive typhoon. We will all die if we go over there. It's like, oh, okay, that's all right. Well, let's go over here then. I thought so. The familiar pressure started to build inside of him, so using all of his willpower, which at the moment wasn't a lot, he pushed himself up and away from Nami. She looked impressed. What's wrong? Did it not feel good? She simpered. He couldn't answer her right away as he was trying to calm himself down. He began to talk through breaths. Not at all. He glanced at her and blushed. I just wanted to take these off. He pointed down to his boxers. She blushed as she realized that was the only article of clothing remaining between her and his manhood. She sat up and without further ceremony yanked the stupid things down. His member sprang out at attention, looking quite comical yet intimidating at the same time. Okay, well, you know, Oda has come out and mentioned this before. I mean, people have talked about, like, is Luffy's... is it packing a rubber band, or how does that work? And, you know, Oda didn't really comment on the size or anything like that, but he did mention that it is, in fact, it's rubber, so, you know, I don't know if the author's going to play into that at all, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, by the way, in case you don't, this isn't a sex toy, it's just a little piggy. Just a little piggy, my little pig Reginald that's hanging out here. He wanted to be part of the fan fiction reading. He's a little perverted piggy, so whatever. He pointed down, she sat up and without further ceremony yanked the stupid things down. His members sprang out at attention, looking quite comical yet intimidating at the same time. She didn't know whether to laugh or gasp. He was certainly well endowed in that department. She figured God was just showing off at this point. So when did Usopp get involved here? This is going to make this a three-way. Yeah, so it was comical yet impressive. So I'm confused on exactly what is Luffy's... I don't need to know. Luffy removed his boxers and the rest of the way and unceremoniously threw them onto the floor with his shorts and vest. Nami did likewise with her tank top. I thought she was topless long before this. How did Luffy go in? Well, I guess she still had it on. It was just curled up, and so Luffy could, you know. Okay. Now one was completely naked while the other was half naked. It seemed Nami had some catching up to do. But then Luffy was already half naked when she got there. How about you just relax and let me take care of you for once, she said sexually, pushing him against her in a reclining position. She wanted him to have a good view after all. Okay, so now at this point, just like sit down and just, Nami, you don't have to. Oh, don't even start with that. You know you want it, so shut up and take it like a man. A little bit of a tone shift. We were building into this. It was such like it was kind of a cutesy scene in part one of this. Now it's just like, let me give it to you. Okay. She promptly started sucking on his member. Oh, okay, blowjob. A spontaneous blowjob. You have to careful when you ease into that. All right. Spontaneous blowjob. He melted, groaning hard the entire time. God, she loved to hear him so exasperated, so full of longing and desire, especially when he said her name. This powerful man, worth 400 million berry, was at her complete mercy right now. It's actually reached a new level. It's actually 3 times higher, over 3 times higher than that now. So you can only imagine, like, 1.5 1.5 billion! Berry Bounty was at her complete mercy right now. It was a major turn on. Oh yeah, all of those berries. Hey, Nami! Okay, oh my god, I just got something. Okay, Nami loves money, and Luffy is worth 400 million at this point. This was after the time skip before Dressrosa. So, this is like, in a sense, Nami fucking money. Like, this is like, oh yeah, 400 million berries has combined together in physical form, and now I get to have sex with it. So, I as soon as Nami realizes that's the case, I'm sure that's a massive turn on for her. Alright. She could feel a familiar heat start to pool between her thighs, but she clenched her legs together so she could concentrate on what she was doing at the moment. Her pleasure would come later. She traced her tongue along the underside of his skin, earning a desperate sounding "Nami" from him. She licked the slit, earning a gasp, and sliding the entire thing into her mouth. She began to pump and suck, starting out slow, but then moving faster. I need to chill. I don't have a drink in here. I just need to, well, oh, okay. Oh, man. So how many is at a half-mast right now? Oh, boy. Sneaking a glance, she witnessed Luffy holding onto the sheets for dear life, a stressed expression on his heated face. He was gasping for breath, and his hips started to thrust in time with her bobbing. Sucking particularly hard, she noticed his member was stretching with her. My, how interesting. Okay, so we are going there. We are going into the, oh, it is stretchy. We can have some fun with this. She started using a suction cup technique, making the appendage stretch with every suck Luffy hollered out. It felt fucking amazing. He couldn't take much more of this. Wrestling his hand. This is definitely going on the vlog channel at this point. I was thinking maybe I could get away with this by putting it on the main channel. This is definitely got to go on the side channel right now. We can't, yeah, this is going to get demonetized, I think, almost immediately. I'm still surprised that the first one didn't, but yeah, this is, I'm just going to cut with the freaking, nuances. Let's just dive right into this now. She kept sucking even when it was corning out. He felt himself falling from on high. Well, more like floating. He was gasping for breath, covered in sweat, and loving every minute of it. He finally became aware of Nami again, and looked at her through littled eyes? I don't know what that was. She was finishing off his mess, licking what she could have missed off the sides of her mouth. She smiled lazily at her. He smiled lazily at her. Don't get all sleepy on me right now, mister. There's still one more thing you have to do. Okay, listen. Guys, I've read a lot of hentai in my day. I've looked at a lot of hentai in my day. I've watched a lot of porn in my day. I've come out and said this before, so I'm not ashamed to admit it. And if there's one thing I never really quite grasped or really, like, I understood the concept, but it just seemed impossible to me. It's like, after a blowjob has been done, I'm gonna be tapping out, I'm already done, like Luffy just tapped out. It's just like, look, I'm done, alright? It's gonna be taking a while to recharge after that freaking performance you just gave off. So, you want me to finish the job with you now? That's gonna be a hard, oh boy, I might have to inject something or something to make that happen, or, I don't know if it's gonna be possible. So yeah, right now, Luffy has just had his rubber member sucked on down, and he's tapping out, and he's like, oh, Nami, pretty much imagine after, Gear 4 disengaged when fighting Dofi, he was like, he's all shaky and wobbly, and his eyes are drooping. He's like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. But Nami's calling, so I don't know. If Nami was present, that might be an immediate kind of recharge. It's like, alright, let me just pop in a new battery. Alright, we're good to go again. Oh boy. When you subscribe to this channel, you totally were expecting this, right? What's that? He panted. Me, he gulped. Me, he gulped. So it's like Nami's like, me. And he's like, the other guys have talked about it from time to time, but he had never joined in on the conversations, most likely because he has never done it. And don't worry, I'll be there to guide you every step of the way. Remember, you're not doing this alone, she grinned. Should I be, you know, I'm having flashbacks to when I was, like, first, like, looking at, like, you know, like back when you're, like, 13 years old and you go on, like, Google and you type in big boobs, click, oh my god! You know, how you first start and you're in your halcyon days when you're first discovering internet pornography, and you have that moment where you're like, I gotta make sure no one can see, I gotta make sure to delete everything. You know, I'm having kind of flashbacks to that right now, where I'm just like, man, this is getting kind of, whew. He sat up and gave her a deep kiss. It was gentle and sweet, unlike the hastened ones that had been before. He could taste himself on her. She hummed at his gentleness. They finally broke apart. I know you'll always be there for me. I'll always be there for you, too. I don't know how much these kinds of things, but as long as you're the one showing me, I know there's no reason to worry. She could feel herself tearing up. It's a very emotional sex. Luffy could be so sweet sometimes. She wiped at her eye. And one more thing. Before we start, I want to make something clear. She looked at him curiously. Oh. I love you, Nami. That's adorable. Okay, alright. We're now getting back to the adorable factor. For right now. His eyes softened. Wait, no, I was skipping a paragraph. Her heart almost exploded in happiness. He loved her. Monkey D. Luffy loved her. A complete idiot. Rubberman. Pirate King. Loved her. She pounced on him, placing butterfly kisses all over his face. I love you too, Luffy. He laughed heartily. She put a hand on either side of his face and became completely serious again. I love you. His eyes softened. They kissed again, and inevitably it turned passionate rather quickly. Oh boy, here we go. Wait, she said. Do you have, you know, any protection? Luffy blushed. Wait. He's rubber. He's rubber. It's already like, okay. I guess that, okay, having a rubber and being made of rubber, two completely different things. People have made that joke before. I'm not the first one to do it. But, yeah, condoms exist in the One Piece world. So they're, you know, maybe Vegapunk invented them. That actually makes a lot of sense. 500 years above his time, you know. He's like, hey guys, all right, I know I invented this giant death machine pacifista, but you know, syphilis and sexually transmitted diseases and unwanted pregnancies, you know, they're kind of a problem in our piratey days. So here is this rubber substance I invented with a you know, interesting lubricant. It's actually just motor oil, so you might not want to wear it for too long, but it's the best I could come up with under these circumstances. Here you go. Without saying a word, he stretched his arm out to his nightstand. He opened... Okay, now we're getting kind of ridiculous. All right, I was kind of with the way that this author was portraying Luffy because, like I said, Luffy, you know, he has, in the series, basically no sex drive. So in the fanfic, you got to give him a little bit of a sex drive, but you have to, like, you know, chisel through a wall of ignorance to get there. And Nami succeeded in chiseling through the wall, and I'm like, all right, Luffy is an unknown man in a vast desert at this point, and just like, where is this going? And he's just learning as he goes. Nami's showing him, but now you're going to say that Luffy just has a condom in his nightstand at any given time, even though he had no idea what sex really was up till this point. That's probably the most ridiculous thing out of this entire fanfic, but I'm just kind of buying time right now, so let's see where this pans out. Without saying a word, he stretched out his arm to the nightstand. He opened the drawer and, rummaging around inside, found a few moments, pulled out a small square object. Her eyes widened and she looked at him questioningly, like, why do you well, you see, he sputtered, scratching his neck, Zoro kind of gave them to me as a joke. He said something about, hey, how they would come in handy the day I realized I was a man. I guess I get it now. And he was right. She. All right, so Zoro gave... You think it would have been a Sanji, of all people. You think Sanji would have been... He's the guy, he's the ladies' man. He would have been the one to be like, here you go, Captain, have this when you're a real man. But now I'm picturing, how did this conversation go over with Zoro and Luffy? You know, they're just chilling out on the Sunny after the time skip, and he's like, oh, maybe Zoro got along with Perona back in the Muggy Kingdom and stuff. And he's like, they're out there on the side of the Thousand Sunny talking, and they're just like, hey, Luffy, here you go, have this. He's like, what's this? I'm like, you'll know when you're a true man. So... I would just be surprised Luffy didn't think it was like a kind of candy or something. Okay, well, alright, well that explains that, I guess. She sweat dropped at the explanation. If Zoro ever found out they used the condoms he gave Luffy as a joke, they'd never live it down. Yeah, this is gonna be really awkward to explain to the rest of the... Could you imagine the following morning? The following morning where Nami and Luffy have to walk into the freaking mess hall on the Sunny. Sanji's frying up some eggs and bacon, and you know, Frankie and Usopp, they're at the table, they're eating, and then Sanji then Luffy and Nami walk in, and they're just kind of like, "Morning, everybody!" They're like, "Hey, how you doing, Captain?" And Sanji's like, "Nami Swan, good morning!" And Nami's just like, "Yeah, good morning, Sanji. How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong? You seem sick." I'm like, I would love to read a fanfic just about that alone, just the aftermath of this shit. But okay, I'll put it on for you. Don't want you messing things up and making me prego, she said. Ellipses and a question mark. I am terrified of having to put a condom on the first time, because I really have no... I would be the person that would fuck it up. Yeah. Don't even ask. She ripped the wrapper off with her teeth. Let's play a little, she thought. She popped it into her mouth and started working her tongue. Strawberry. Who knew Zoro had such good taste? Strawberry-flavored condoms. Got it. Luffy looked at her, wondering what she was doing, but she ignored him. Finally ready, she put her mouth to the tip of Luffy's member and began sliding on the condom with her mouth. He groaned loudly at this. It was fucking hot sight to behold. It was a fucking hot sight to behold. That was actually put in there. Alright, let's imagine that. Okay, we imagine that. Then she was done, and she was swallowing the last bit of strawberry flavor from her mouth. Are you ready? She asked Luffy. He nodded. She went to take off her shorts, but he stopped her. Ooh, okay. Moving a little bit too fast here. We only got like 2 pages left of this, so you better be getting to it right now. Wait, what? Let me do it. She blushed, but she shrugged her shoulders. Fine, have it your way. Like Burger King. Fine, have it your way. Grasping the hem of her shorts, Luffy began to pull them down, agonizingly slow. The fabric glided over the smoothness of her legs, and he didn't hesitate to feel as much of them as he could during the process. Nami hadn't expected him to be slow about it, and her impatience was growing. The sight of him pulling down her pants, ogling at her bare legs, he was being too sexy for his own good. She went to tear her panties off, but a hand and a growl stopped her. Mine, Luffy growled. Mine. She gulped and went back to enduring his slow torture. The shorts finally slid off her feet, and she heard as they hit the wall. Luffy now turned his attention to the only remaining article of clothing between him and his naked navigator. Using only 2 fingers. This is Panty Alert Red. We are at Panty Alert Red! Using only 2 fingers, he hooked the sides of her blue G-string and began to pull them down. That's about accurate. I can't imagine Nami would wear a lot of underwear. You know, the most minimal amount of underwear possible. That's about right. Nami gasped as the air hit her. She was now fully exposed to Luffy, and he was staring at her for all that what it was worth. It didn't stop him from sliding the garment the rest of the way off her legs, but now he seemed more in a hurry to get them off. They went flying behind his head, and they got caught on the ceiling fan. Nami couldn't help giggling. This is the most theatrical, like, porn, like, sex ever. I'm sure that most people probably... It's not really this dramatic, you know? Knowing my luck, I would take off the panties, throw them in the air, they would hit the ceiling fan, and then whip back around and then smack me right in the fucking eye. And I'd be like, ah! Oh, God! That'd be my luck. Are you ready? He asked. Shouldn't I be asking you that? Nami asked. Well, you see, seeing how this is your first time, she gasped. Nami asked, and then she gasped. How did you... I can just tell. How did you know? No, how would you... Wait. Wait, what? No way. No, okay, Nami's the virgin in this, too. Huh. Okay. Because I thought it was Luffy at first they were talking about. Like, oh, no shit, Luffy's a virgin, but Nami's a virgin, huh? That might be the new most unbelievable thing in this fanfic. That might the Zoro condom thing. All right, you kind of made that make a little bit more sense. But Nami being a virgin, sporting the V card, I somehow I doubt that. I can just tell. She nodded. Yes, I am. Are you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're both virgins. Nami grabbed his hard member and he huffed. She could feel it throbbing and quivering in anticipation under her hand. She wouldn't make him wait any longer. Closing her eyes and using her instincts, she guided him to her opening. Okay, listen, guys, listen. I feel like I have to bring it up at this point. All right, it's finally happening. 100%. I mean, granted, there's only like one page of this left, but this entire last page is going to be nothing but sex. Oh yeah, it totally is. So, I don't know if anybody is still watching at this point, or if you turned it off 20 minutes ago, but we're diving into this, full-on into this, so just freaking get your rain gear ready, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Very slowly, he began to enter inside of her. Luffy sighed at the feeling. She felt great. It was hot and damp and so damn tight. This video is going to end up on freaking Pornhub. He was being squeezed from every angle, something her mouth hadn't been able to do. But then he met resistance. He wanted to go further, so he gave a slight thrust and broke through it easily. Nami had been doing fine with things up until now. She cried out, thinking the weather for coating the sounds that would be otherwise have altered the rest of the crew of what they were doing. Okay. She cried out, thinking that the weather for coating the sounds that would be otherwise have alerted the crew for what they were doing. Yeah, it's a thunderstorm going on outside, so that's why they're not immediately, like, what's going on in here? Can you imagine Sanji if he burst in? Oh my god, his heart would just shatter into a million pieces. It was burning. It was pain unique to anything she had ever felt before. Tears sprang to her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She knew it wouldn't last long. Luffy looked concerned at her cry, but she ignored it. Nami? 1 second. She took 5 big breaths and then realized the pain was almost gone. Then it came to her. Luffy was inside of her. She felt the immense heat between her legs, and this thought made it become unbearable. She had to move. She rocked her hips. The best way I could describe this word is... It's the best I got. Luffy grunted. The friction felt so good. Luffy began to slowly pull out of her, and then he quickly thrust back in. The move brought waves of pleasure to both, and Nami could see tiny stars forming behind her eyes. She brought her hips up to meet Luffy's next thrust, and he went deeper than before. Is it fucked up that I'm kind of hungry reading this? Like, I'm like not hungry like that, but like I'm physically, I could go for a pizza after this. Like, is that fucked up or is that normal? I don't know. Anyone that's actually had sex, let me know. Shoot me back an email. Like, is it normal, like, in the middle of having sex to suddenly feel hungry? Nami felt herself nearing the end, too. Luffy had unconsciously sped his pace, thrusting into her faster. She was reduced to moaning because she was no longer able to form coherent words. With each thrust, she was being pushed closer and closer to the edge. Luffy had grabbed her hips for more leverage and began pounding into her, hitting some pleasurable spots. Luffy put in a few more thrusts before the feeling of Nami's walls clasping around him made him lose control, and he released himself. Okay, so just... I don't know if that meant he released himself like, he pulled out, or released himself as in, oh great, it's the Whitewater Rapids coming down on the old mountain tops! Both of them! Okay. He released himself. His vision ran white, and then he collapsed. Trying not to crush her, but feeling totally exhausted. They both lay there, naked, him on top of her. They shivered in what was now like the cold night air. After a time, Luffy pulled out her and lay beside her, pulling her close so that she was snuggling his chest. Wordlessly, she collected the blanket and threw it over both of them, trapping their body heat and warming them up. As his eyes heavily drooped, Luffy looked down at Nami. He could tell she was on the verge of sleep, so he was surprised when she mumbled. It's the last page, but there's like nothing on it hardly. I love my king, he chuckled. It seemed she finally understood what she had said before. And I love my queen, he whispered back, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. And with that, the monarchs fell asleep. La fin. Alright, so that's... Holy shit. That's that. Oh, God. Whew, that was pretty steamy. Very lemony up in here. You know, I'm going to assume that a lot of you, even the people that were into this, even the people that were into last episode, this is a whole other thing. You're like, oh yeah, part two. And now, like, I'm imagining halfway through this, you were like, all right, I can't handle this anymore. I gotta click off. But all three of you that are currently still watching this, I appreciate your dedication to the craft. I really do. Yeah, and so that's a pretty good summation, I guess, about what would happen if Nami and Luffy had sex. And you know what? I just thought of something. I might actually go and write my own fanfic now. And I know the plot. The plot, it wouldn't be a lemon. I'm gonna try to write a fanfic of the morning after involving this scenario, because that just seems hilarious to me. Nami and Luffy trying to keep this a secret, walking into the breakfast hall and the crew, and just that seems hilarious to me. And then we could have moments with each of the crew members. You know, Brooke could be there and be like, "Ho ho ho! Looks like someone got boned." Ho ho ho! So yeah, we might do that next. But for right now, I hope you all appreciated this, whatever, and have a good night. I gotta go do some stuff. I'm gonna go order a pizza and, yeah, do some other stuff. Have a good night, everybody.